Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to In Review. I am your host, ChickenDragon, and In Review is where I review the games that I've played and give you my opinion on whether they were worth it or not. Are they worth the money, or is it a good game? Stellaris, to put it in a single sentence, is definitely good, but definitely not great. At least not yet. It's certainly the most accessible game in Paradox's lineup of Grand Strategy games. It has a working tutorial. But it's also one of the most frustrating, and it definitely needs some work to make it a truly great experience. That said, it is a good game, and it's good on a lot of different levels. The music is good, the early and the mid-game are excellent. It's really just the last part of the game where everything falls apart. The good news is that Stellaris will receive the tune-ups that the game needs. Paradox's DLC model works a lot like an MMO does. People buy the base game. And if enough people buy the base game, an expansion will come out eventually with a free patch for everyone, even if they didn't get the DLC. The game will improve. All in all, Stellaris, the 1.2 patch at least, gets an 8.0 out of 10. If that's all you want, go find a nice video of a puppy dog trying to get food from its owners. If, however, you want to get why Stellaris gets this rating, please keep watching. We'll start off, as always, with the music. The music is good, but it's not great. It does fit the theme, but it doesn't really feel original for the game. It feels like it draws inspiration from a lot of other mediums. There were even some tracks that I felt like drew almost specifically from Interstellar. That said, it is good, and it is original even if it doesn't feel that way. And I bet that they will add more music in DLC in the future if past games are anything to go by. So it gets an 8 out of 10. Music gets an 8 out of 10. Gameplay is great, in the first two stages of the game at least. The early and mid games are strong showings for Stellaris, and I'm betting that if you had a friend to play with the late game, the late game would be strong too. Sadly, though, if you're doing single player, the late game is just too repetitive. Any exploring at that point requires extensive micromanagement on a large galaxy, and it often just isn't worth it. Having fleets of ships also need a revamp, as having them generally just means they sit around until you go to war. I would suggest either being able to have them patrol sectors, or if Paradox wants to still have those alien encounters still available, have a clear system button, sort of like the science ships have with exploring, where you can right-click on a solar system and send your science ship out to explore all of the planets in the system. I feel like there should be a similar button for warships, only they should focus on clearing the system of enemies. That would really take away from the tedium of warships and having to go to one sector, watch that one fleet, make sure it's killed all of the enemies in that solar system, and then send it to the next one. That said, that makes it sound like the gameplay isn't good, and most of the time it is. Those are really my only two problems with the gameplay. I love the way diplomacy is handled in the game. It makes sense and it's clear, and planetary tabs are the same. Same thing with research, empire, the empire tabs, the leader tabs. Everything makes sense except for those two things. But those two things are so necessary that I've got to take away a lot of points for it. Overall gameplay just gets an 8.0 out of 10. Story with Stellaris really is a non-issue. You sort of develop your own history for your race as you explore the galaxy. So instead we're going to focus on quests. Now, halfway through the game I had to switch to the beta patch because of game crashes. So that might have something to do with the reason that several quest lines were broken and I just couldn't complete them. That said, the quest lines that were all there were certainly interesting and filled to the brim with lore. I loved it. It made the game feel more alive. I felt like exploring these ruins left behind by precursor races was so much more interesting because of it. Now we're going to move on to graphics. I have no complaints. This is the one area that needed no improvement. Stellaris is just that beautiful. It gets an easy 10 out of 10. If I had to really nitpick, occasionally you can see places in the stars where where you see like a slight line through, but that's it. It really is just beautiful. And you have to be looking really hard to notice that sort of seam where the two textures overlap. Moving on to bugs. Bugs were there. Most of the time it was just cases of technology not being stored correctly and an admiral living for almost 300 years. But there were some that actually were pretty bad. As I mentioned previously, quest lines would occasionally break, and I did have a lot of game crashes before switching over to the beta patch. Good news is that, again, all of these bugs will probably be fixed. But as it stands right now, they can really mess up the experience. Except for the Admiral. Please, keep the Admiral to leave him alive for almost 300 years. That was awesome. Thank you. Keep that bug. Keep that one. Overall, Stellaris does a good job. It isn't great, but it can easily become that with a little bit of time. The game has its flaws, certainly, but it remains fun and beautiful through most of the experience. The endgame crises are challenging without being impossible, and the AI for these games is really good. It can be a challenge without being overwhelming. But something that I haven't touched on yet is the heart of the game. And the heart is solid gold. Stellaris doesn't suffer from something that most sci-fi games suffer from. You see, Stellaris is a true sci-fi game wrapped in a strategy skin, rather than a strategy game wrapped with a false sci-fi skin. Here's what I mean by that. A true sci-fi experience should make it feel possible. And it's not using space magic. And I didn't feel like Stellaris did most of the time. Every once in a while you would have a moment of space magic where you'll research something that you know just is impossible. But there were moments, but most of the time the research was focused, it was grounded in what we believe to be possible currently. It's true sci-fi. And that's amazing. It's been so long since I have played a truly sci-fi game and not a science magic game like Star Wars can be. This felt a lot more like Star Trek rather than Star Wars, and I loved it for that. It shows to me that the developers do care about the end result. They wanted a real sci-fi game rather than just a strategy game or a space magic game. And it shows, at least to me. Overall, I had to give Stellaris a solid 8.0 out of 10. I greatly enjoyed most of my time playing it, and it does need some more polish, but it will improve in the future. And that's just for this patch. As we go into the future, as we see the 1.3, 1.4, 1.5 patches, I will update this review to keep it current. This game needs a constant review cycle rather than just one review for a game like this. And so it will... this review will be kept updated. In the meantime, guys, thank you for watching this and exploring this game with me over the past few weeks. Please like and subscribe, and I will see you guys in No Man's Sky. But, in the meantime, Live long and prosper. May the force be with you. May the odds be ever in your favor. May the drinks be ever in your flavor. May Batman never need to visit your house at midnight. Same thing with Chuck Norris. Have a great day, guys. Stay safe out there, and goodbye.